We're staying in the same chapter now where we're looking at getting you started with simple drawing geometry, but we've got a new drawing for you. It's called polylines.dwg. And basically it's a blank drawing. It's all set up ready for you to go, and there's nothing on it right now apart from the layers. Now the layers are set up because we're going to be looking at 3 different object types in AutoCAD, which are polylines, polygons and splines. Now you'll notice if I go to the layers panel in the home tab on the ribbon and click on the drop down, we've got different layers for each of those objects. I'd like you to make sure that you are in the polylines layer first of all, so that you've got that as the current drafting layer. We're then going to go to the home tab on the ribbon, which you should already be in anyway, into the draw panel, and we're going to click on polyline there. Now you can just type PL or type P-line if you want to for polyline, but it's there to click on in the panel as well. And the start point, we're going to put in coordinates this time using our dynamic input. So it's 300, 300, like so. So that's 300 along the x-axis and 300 up in the y-axis. Press enter and you'll see that starts at a point sort of bottom left. Make sure that you've got your object snaps on and your polar tracking, and we're going to drag the mouse up the polar tracking line like so, and you can see that we're at 90 degrees there, and in the little blue box there we're going to type 500 as the length of that side of the polyline. So you can see that we've basically formed the first side of our polyline there, and you'll think to yourself, well, that's very much like the line command. Well, you'll see where it's different in a moment. I'm going to drag across to the right now, and I'm going to type in 1200 there and enter again on the keyboard, and that draws that side there. Now the benefit of polylines is you can add different shaped segments. So if I now right click for the next segment and select arc, you'll notice now that as I drag vertically downwards using the polar tracking, I can put an arc on the end of my polyline. And again, I'll type in 500, making sure that we're going vertically downwards with the polar tracking, and enter. And as you can see, it's trying to draw another arc now, but I want to draw a line. So I right click again and select line on the shortcut menu. And as you can see, that line can now go horizontally to the left, or I can just right click and close my polyline. Now, if I hover over that, you'll see that it's all one element. It's a polyline on the polylines layer. That's the benefit of polylines. It's a lot of segments joined together to form the one object. If I'd drawn that using 3 lines and an arc, it would be 4 objects. Now, if you've got thousands and thousands of these in a drawing, you can see that polylines make the file size smaller because there's less objects in the drawing. Now, we're going to go to the layer drop down, and we're going to select polygons this time. And the good thing is, because I've got an arc here, that means that I've got a center point around here somewhere, and we're going to need the center point to draw a polygon. So we come up to the draw panel, click on the flyout menu and select polygon. Now the default number of sides on a polygon in AutoCAD is 4. I'm going to change it to 6 and press enter, and that means I can draw a hexagon. Now as you can see, it's prompting me for the center of the polygon. Now, go down to your object snaps, click on the flyout menu, and just make sure that center is ticked and it's one of your running object snaps. As you can see, it is in my case. So I'm going to click on the little triangle there to close the menu. I can touch on the edge of the arc like so, or I can come in here like this to get the center snap. It depends on which snaps are overriding at the time. If I go there, you'll see it's trying to get an endpoint there, or an endpoint there, or a midpoint there. If I come closer to the center, there's the center snap. So I click there. That's the center of my polygon, the center of that arc. Now I can have an inscribed in-circle polygon or a circumscribed about-circle polygon. Inscribed means it follows the inside of the imaginary circle. Circumscribed means it goes around the circumference of the imaginary circle based on the center point we've just set up. I'm going to go for inscribed in circle because then it will be inside my arc. And can you see I've got a corner of my hexagon there, a vertex it's called, and I can come out to the midpoint snap there on the circle, on the arc, and I click there, and as you can see, it's placed that nice and neatly for me, and that's a polygon. If you hover over it though, it'll tell you it's actually a polyline, and it is. It's a closed polyline with 6 segments, but the polygon command allows you to specify a center and obviously the orientation of the polygon based on whether it's inscribed or circumscribed. Now, last but not least, we're going to have a look at splines. So I click on the layer drop down and set it to splines. Now, splines are basically irregular curves that follow a group of control points. And they use a thing called NURBS, N-U-R-B-S, Non-Uniform Rational B-Spline, is the actual mathematical algorithm that AutoCAD uses to draw one of these. Now, the spline command itself is on the draw panel, but you need to hit the fly out here and just pin it open. So click on the little triangle, click on the pin, and what you'll find is splines are here. So you've got a spline fit that fits to points already on the drawing, or you've got a spline with control vertices. I'm going to use the spline CV with the control vertices like so. And I come in and it's asking for the first point of my spline. I'm going to use that midpoint snap there on the end of the polyline. And I'm just going to come in, and as I click, you'll see those control vertices kick in. And even though they're like regular triangular shapes, can you see it's fitting the curve to those control points? So as I come in and I come down and then I come up to this endpoint here on the polygon and click there, enter to finish, and there's my spline. It's an irregular curve, and when I click on it, there's those control vertices, the CVs there like so. Now when I select it, you can see there, I can click there and I can fit it. So if I click on fit now, can you see it changes it to a spline with fit points with grips that I can now click on and drag and change the curve of the spline like so. If I click there again, I can change that to control vertices again. And can you see the control vertices can also be clicked on and dragged, and the curve will change again in conjunction with those CVs, those control vertices. So you can see why something like a spline might be used for contour lines on a map, for example, where a line is all at the same elevation on a map, but you've got points that represent that elevation on a map. So it's a bit like a dot-to-dot kind of idea. So that's your polylines, polygons, and splines when you're working in AutoCAD.